Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. As part of today's webinar from 360 Digit MG, we are going to cover linear discriminant analysis. In short, it is also known as LDA. There is another LDA in text mining, which is predominantly known for doing textual analytics. That's basically not linear discriminant analysis. It is latent directly allocation that is used for topic modeling. Okay, we are not discussing about topic modeling here. We are discussing about linear discriminant analysis. And linear discriminant analysis, or LDA, is a supervised technique, and this can be used for both dimension reduction, and it can also be used for classification method, where you will be able to classify your data, right? So it has both the capabilities. Now, when I talk about dimension reduction, right, these are the dimension reductions which are available, and we pretty much covered this as part of our regular sessions. When we talk about dimension reductions, when you have a huge number of dimensions, that is features, or I should say columns, or I should say variables, when you have huge number of variables, let's say I have 100 variables, right? Then performing any kind of analytics on this high dimensional data becomes tricky. Hence, we try to reduce this high dimensional data to a much lesser dimensional space, less dimensional space, right? So once it is converted into a lower dimensional space, we will be able to apply any analytical solutions on top of that particular data. So here we will be discussing about LDA for bringing up the data to a lower dimensional space. That means I will be talking about for dimension reduction, right? PCA is principal component analysis, latent semantic indexing, independent component analysis, manifold learning algorithms. These are unsupervised techniques where you are not going to look at your output variable or dependent variable. Whereas if you have some dependent variable, then you can apply LDA or canonical correlation analysis or partial least squares method. These are different techniques that we have which are defined, right? Now LDA, as I said, is a supervised learning technique. That means you will have input variables and you'll also have output variable which will be defining the classes or categories or clusters, right? So if this is the scenario, this is the kind of data set that we have, where you know what are the various classes that you have in your data set, then LDA can be used to reduce these dimensions into a lower dimensional space using these classes, right? So this is the introduction. LDA is used to solve dimensionality reduction for data with higher attributes or higher features. It can also be used for pre-processing, right, before you want to apply classification techniques. Used for feature extraction. It can be used for, right, classifying your data, especially when you have a multiple classes. And when you're trying to classify these data points, it will linearly classify the data. We'll understand what does that mean. And it can also be used as a prediction agent. Remember, I said it will be used for classification as well as dimension reduction. So LDA, it solves that dimensionality reduction, as I said, supervised algorithm. And now it takes the class label into consideration, your output variable into consideration. And what is it doing basically is, if you have, let's say, C classes, C number of classes, C class problem, then once you apply your dimensional reduction concept using LDA, your data would reduce into C-1 clusters, spaces, C-1 subspace. So it's like this. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say my data set has huge number of inputs. Let's say I have 10 variables, and then I have output variable y. Okay, and this output variable y has classes. Let's say C1, C2, C3, C4, like that. Okay, let's say 4 classes are there. So when I apply LDA, it will reduce these dimensions that you have here to C-1, that is 3 dimensions. Your 10 dimensions that you have, or 11 dimensions that you have, will now be reduced to 3 dimensions, right? That's LDA for us. So to reduce dimensions of n dimensional data set, right, we project that onto a C-1 subspace, where C is your number of classes. That's what LDA does. Now LDA basically will help us find the boundaries around the clusters. So if I have C classes, it will create the boundaries like this, right? And it will project the data into a new subspace. If I have 30, let's say if I have 10 dimensions, it will try to project these 10 dimensional data in such a way that these classes, right, which we are creating, right, are linearly separable, right? So look for the dimension where these classes can be linearly separable like this, right? And here we use something called as centroid, the distance to the centroid, right? Variance calculations will also be coming into the picture here. So LDA, the first step, it finds centroid for each class, right, using the data points. For example, we will be looking into iris dataset. How many of you are aware of iris dataset? No one? Come on, you cannot say. Iris dataset. We use this in our regular classes. Yeah. So it's a dataset which has 5 columns or 5 variables. 4 are input variables and 1 is your output variable, which is talking about species of flowers. And here we'll have 3 classes. It's a 3-class problem that we are trying to address now. The 3 classes are given as setosa, versicolor, and virginica. Okay. So for each class, it will try to find out centroid using these 4 different features, 4 input features. Right? Now, once it finds these 4 centers, it will, I mean, see, basically it is like this. Okay, this is one cluster, this is one cluster, this is one cluster. Using the 4 columns, try to find out these centers by segregating setosa data separately, versicolor data separately, virginica data separately. Right? And once you find out those centers, it will try to find new dimensions. Now, when the new dimensions should satisfy these 2 criteria. The first criteria says maximize the distance between the centroids for each class. That means if I have this one class, this is a centroid, this is another, this is one class and another centroid. So the distance between centroids should be maximized. That way we are getting clear segregation of the classes, right? And minimize the variation. Minimize the variation, which basically means if I have data, I mean the data points in this cluster, right? We have to reduce that variation in that data points. If you remember k-means clustering, we talk about these concepts between sum of squares and within sum of squares. Between sum of squares is the distance between clusters, and within sum of squares is talking about the variation or homogeneity among the records within a cluster. Among records within the cluster. Right? So we are using the same concepts here. But using them, we'll try to find out a new dimension which achieves these logics. So if I have X and Y, assume if your data is spread like this, try to find out a new dimension which will basically give us these concepts for the data points. Right? So this will create a subspace, right? If I have like there's multiple dimensions, then I will create new dimensions which will give us these spaces or these features. Automatically will reduce the number of dimensions we get, right? So it will reduce it in such a way that we will receive or we will get C-1 dimensions. So LDA tries to reduce the variation of the data to minimum. This will basically achieve us non-overlapping clusters. I should say non-overlapping clusters between these classes. And it will also try to maximize the separation so that there is a clear segregation between the classes. Right? It will reduce the dimensions to a C-1 subspace. This is all about your dimension reduction. Right? LDA works as based on these two concepts only, but compared to clustering, here we will have supervised learning. That means we will know what is Y. Using Y, we will do that. So that's all about the theory. As I said, there's not much of the theory between for LDA. We'll look into the R code and Python code to understand how it is doing, what are the functions that we have to use. So LDA can successfully map the data of a high dimensional data space to a lower dimensional space without losing the original characteristics. So your setosa will be setosa, it will not change. Right? And it is better when you have large data sets with multiple classes, and it is a technique which is applied when your data has linearly separable characteristics. Right? It will separate multiple classes which can be linearly separable. If you have non-linear separable data, then LDA will be trying to segregate the data into linearly separable spaces, but you still will have overlapping clusters created. Right? So in short, practically what we do is, if I have to, let's say, use this as a dimensional reduction, I will be using this as dimensional reduction. Right? Straight away that can be applied. But if your data is non-linear separable, right, non-linearly separable, then you can also use PCA along with LDA. So we will use multiple techniques to segregate the data. And as I said, it can also be applied for supervised learning. Say for example, on Setosa, your iris data set, you might want to apply some prediction. So first you would be compressing or reducing the dimensions using LDA, and then on the resultant data, you might apply any of your non-linear separable classification techniques like neural network or SVM. That way you will be doing classification as well. Okay? You have a question? Linearly separable basically means mutually exclusive. Yes, you can say that. See, I have scenario like this. Okay, let me explain. I have data on an X and Y plane where I have circles and squares or triangles. Okay, square or triangle, whatever that is. Right? I'm drawing a rectangle here. So if you see this, I can linearly separate these two classes, circle class and square class. right? I can draw a straight line, single line, and I can separate them. This is called as linearly separable. But what if you have a space which is like this? I have squares and I have circles like this. Squares are circling these circle classes. So this here, I cannot draw a straight line and segregate the data, right? I have to use a non-linear space like that. So this is non-linear. There are two classes, but they are non-linearly separable. They are separable, but non-linearly. Here it is linearly separable. Yeah. So let us look into the R code and Python code to understand the implementation of this particular logic. We'll come back to this. So let me open Iris dataset. So using R, first I will load Iris dataset. Right? If you say head of Iris, this is your dataset. It has sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width with species. You can also see the complete dataset. Head will give us the first 6 records in R, and it has in total 150 records. 50 records of versicolor, 50 records of setosa, and 50 records of virginica. Okay. Now I can also show you the data set. Let's attach this data set. Then I'll do summary. Summary will show you the mean, median for these columns, right? This is basically your data set, and you can see species. I have 50 for each class. Okay, 3 class problem. If I want to plot this data, let me say plot. Right, this is your data set. Though you see species column, the last column that you are seeing here, I have 3 classes, right? Species has 3 classes. But if you look into only the input data set, you can see that there are only 2 classes, right? So there might be an overlapping scenario here, overlapping clusters, right? So let us visualize that, okay? Let us try and observe that also. Now, the first thing we do is, because it can be applied as classification technique also, I'm doing partitioning, and I'm randomly selecting my data as 60-40 classification. So out of 150 records, I'm splitting my data into 60 and 40, 60% and 40%. You can have any of the classification here. You can say 75-25 or 70-30, whatever you want. Okay. So randomly sample the data into true and false, and that's how you are going to basically assign values to train and test. Okay, true will become train, false will become test. Now once we split the data into train and test, this is the package mass. We need to install and get the package loaded for LDA. And LDA, we are using the class. We are using the class species on the data set. Okay, and you can see I'm passing only 3 columns. I'm not passing all the 4 columns. Right? And I'm loading the training data set. And this is the data. So you will get C-1 classes, LDA1 and LDA2 for your sepal length, sepal width, petal length. So you have 3 variables, right? Though I have 4 variables, I passed only 3 variables. And when I pass 3 variables, the LDA is segregating or bringing the data into 2 classes, C-1 class, right? So that's how it reduces the dimensional space, right? These are group names and coefficients. These are the coefficients that we have obtained for our new dimensions. And let me try and plot the data. You can see LDA1 and LDA2 in a two-dimensional space. I can draw my data set. Right? So I have setosa, and you can see versicolor and virginica are generally combined together. There is an overlapping here. This is how your LDA is applied for dimensional reduction. Now, I can also use this for prediction purpose, right? So I'm passing the test data here, right? And I'm trying to identify the class. So let's predict, and you can see this is the prediction. For the 65 data points from the test data set, I'm ignoring that species column and I'm trying to figure out the classes, and these are the classes. You can also come up with confusion matrix. It's a two-class problem now, right? So it is confusion matrix that I'm plotting here, wherein I'm taking test data set, the fifth column, and the classification, prediction, actual, comma, prediction. So this is your confusion matrix on the three classes that we have come up with. So there is one misclassification which is done, right? So this is how we can do LDA, which can be used for dimension reduction, wherein my three variables are converted into two-dimensional space, LDA1 and LDA2, LD1 and LD2, and I can also use it for prediction purpose. Right? Classification is done using the same LDA. If I have to do it in Python, let's look at this. So I'm here's the data set. Yeah, here's the data set. So I'm importing pandas, and I'm importing label encoder. This is a subfunction that I'm importing from pre-processing. Then discriminant analysis. This is where I'm importing LDA, and I'm giving a short name as LDA. sklearn discriminant analysis. Linearly discriminating, right? Linearly segregating. That's the name. And matplotlib for visualization. And here I am defining the feature space. These are the four feature spaces that I am defining in centimeters. And this is the data set. I'm loading the same iris data set. Now in Python, we will not have inbuilt data set. So we are using this inbuilt data set that we have in R saved into CSV, and that CSV is used to load here. We are loading that data set here. And you can see head command, the same head command that we used in R resulted in first six records, whereas in Python it will result in 5 records, 0 to 4 records. Okay, that's the only difference. And here I am basically defining the columns using the dictionary that I have created there in the above, right? And these are the columns. So I'm just giving a names here. You can see for each column I'm just replacing that names because I have defined these labels, right? So just for that purpose I'm sorting the data and arranging the data in a same order. And if there are any NAs, I am dropping these NAs, right? Because I have to reduce the dimensions, I cannot have this kind of a scenario where I have categorical data or I have NA fields. Because if I have NA space or NA value, then I cannot calculate the mean using that, right? So I will have to drop it or I have to impute it. So I'm dropping here and I'm splitting my data set into input and output. So first 4 columns I'm taking as X, which is input. You can see, okay, this is a float data, so I will just highlight this. View will not be applicable. So this is my X space where I'm taking the 4 columns here, okay, into input space, and Y is the output. This is your species column, right? Now I'm defining encoder, label encoder, and I'm fitting Y here. And you can see label encoder when I encoded it. Okay, it's just the function. I have to fit it here, transform Y into this. So now my Y is like this. So I have 3 different species, right? So I'm encoding those 3 different species like this. Initially it will take 0, 1, 2, but I'm adding it those values with 1. So Setosa will become 1, versicolor becomes 2, virginica becomes 3. It's just to order the data. Okay, it's like in R we have an inbuilt function called factor for this. Okay, so I'm defining the labels here, dictionaries where 1 means Setosa, 2 means versicolor, 3 means virginica. Okay, this is a dictionary that I'm creating. Now I want to segregate this into 2 components. I want to split my or reduce the dimension into 2 components. So I'm defining that LDA n components is equals to 2, and I'm calling that model as sklearn underscore LDA. And I'm passing this sklearn underscore LDA to X and Y data. Transform X comma Y. So that's it, done. So this one is basically reducing your data into 2 components, 2 dimensions. So I will take these 2 dimensions and I will be able to visualize the data. And in order to visualize the data, I'm taking this plot, I'm defining a function where I'll take X and title, I'm giving a title, and I'm taking the input, and I'm defining the labels, axis, and the colors. Okay, I'm defining all this, and then I'll plot the values like this. All these are basically playing around with the visualization and hiding the axes and removing all those grids and everything. And when I do this, this is the function that I'm defining, and for that function I'm passing input and I'm saying this is the label. So basically I'm putting grids and all those things, right? So enhanced visualization is applicable, is shown because of that custom function that I have developed. So you can see Setosa, just like in R, it is segregated separately. The data is clearly shown separately. Whereas versicolor and virginica, there is an overlap here. You can see that there is a little bit of overlap there. It is trying to show the data in new dimensions in such a way that it can maximize the difference in the classes for non-overlapping data set as well. But unfortunately, its data is so much overlapped, but it is not able to clearly segregate that, and there is some bit of overlapping here, right? So this is about LDA, friends. It is used for dimension reduction, or it can also be used as classification method or classifier, right? Any questions? It's not a big concept. It's a very small concept. It should rather not confuse you people, but if you have any questions, please ask me. Any questions, anyone? All right, no questions, fine. Can LDA be used for numerical output variable? Are you talking about output variable Y being numeric? Then it's typically not applied for that. It will typically be applied when you have output variable which is categorical. So your input should be numeric, output should be non-numeric, categorical data. For such kind of data sets, LDA is preferred. All right. Now, I'm not sure if you people have the YouTube channel subscription, if you have subscribed to it or not, but all these webinars that are being conducted, the previous ones also, are there on this YouTube channel. I would recommend you people to connect to this YouTube channel and subscribe it, so that even in case if you are missing the webinar, you can quickly go through this webinar using your YouTube channel. So I'll be sharing these links. These are the 3 links that I have. I'm not sure how would I be able to save it. Okay, let me just copy it. This is for the Facebook channel. This is the LinkedIn channel, and this is the YouTube channel that we have. And request you people to connect with us so that there could be a lot of information sharing happening. All right, so that's it for this webinar. If you have any questions, please ask me. You can also post your questions on the social media channels, YouTube channel as well, and we would be very glad to assist and answer your questions. With that, thank you so much, and hope you have a very wonderful day. Thank you, friends.